Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Step by Step. Today I'm going to be playing Vikavolt versus a Sylveon deck, so I hope you enjoy this. Vikavolt's a really exciting deck, and I'm not sure if it's ready to be played in the standard format right now, or if it's going to wait until rotation happens to find its prominence in the format. But I think the deck is very strong, and I think you'll see that in this matchup here versus Sylveon, so I hope you enjoy. Now, I'm thinking about here, do I want to start with Tapu Lele or do I want to start with Trevenant EX? I was thinking about Tapu Lele because it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to be able to stream a consistent 60 damage against Sylveon. And if I can get a choice band here and there or an extra energy here and there, getting a 3-shot. But I decided to go with Trevenant because I wanted to, just in case my opponent didn't play down the Silent Lab, I wanted to be able to play my Tapu Lele on turn 1 and get a Brigette to go ahead and start setting up my Grubbins. So saying the sentence "setting up my Grubbins" sure does feel pretty good. So anyways, he plays the Silent Lab, so whatever. I think it was the right play to start with Trevenant. Now we just need to start getting damage on the field. And Dark Force does 20 and prevents retreat, and then the second attack does 50 plus 20 for every grass energy attached to Trevenant. It's good to play an N early versus Sylveon, okay? Let me just say that now. Because the more times you can N after Magical Ribbon, the greater your odds of winning the match. That's just all it comes down to. But yeah, so the more you can N, the better, because you can disrupt the hand that they got. They probably will still get some good stuff off the N, but it's better than the 3 specific cards that they wanted. Losing 2 energy here kind of hurts. It always hurts to lose energy. Obviously, that's the point of the Sylveon deck, though. I wish we could see what the Sylveon player takes every time. Like, not during the match, but after the match, just to know what they were thinking. Sylveon's very popular. I mean, it has a pretty decent matchup versus Garbodor. The Garbodor Drampa or whatever that version is. I think I've play tested the match a little bit versus Garbodor Trevenant, and I've won 3 out of 4 with Garbodor Trevenant against Sylveon. So again, that's a super small sample size, but I do find that the early Trevenant pressure is super helpful. And we're going to bridge it here. We definitely need to get some stuff set up. Now, hey, this might look surprising, right? We're running 4 Alolan Vulpix. Look, Stage 2 decks, I'm really not trying to play a ton of trainers with Garbodor in the format to get them set up. I really just want to use Vulpix for no energy to search out the Pokemon that I need. If I can get a Tapu Lele, if I have a Grubbin in play, think about this, I have a Grubbin in play, right? And I search for Tapu Lele and Vikavolt. Well, the next turn I can Tapu Lele for Skyla for rare candy, and then candy up to Vikavolt next turn. So Vulpix is really good in my opinion in Stage 2 decks, and I think you're gonna see that. I think you're gonna see that at least in a couple of my videos coming up, because we're gonna have another Stage 2 deck coming out here pretty soon that features Vulpix. But I wonder if the meta will catch on to running Vulpix. Because, I mean, like, worst case scenario, just discard it, you know? Like, if you don't start with it, who cares? It's like it's like a very poor man's Talonflame, right? And the reason we're not using Talonflame in here is because I want to be able to attach energy elsewhere. So that's just, I mean, hey, Talonflame might work too. I don't know. I just didn't try it. I just like Vulpix a lot. It's always good, like I said, to get the N back with the VS Seeker. Shuffle away the magical ribbon stuff. This move is taking a long time because it would be somewhat tempting to go ahead and just keep putting damage on Sylveon. But look, eventually they're just going to max potion and attach another energy anyway. So I'm not a huge fan of that right now. I'm going to go ahead and retreat and pull up Alolan Vulpix and go ahead and try to start setting up another Vikavolt, or a Vikavolt GX rather. I'm expecting Plea GX to happen, so I definitely want 3 grubbing down. I'd like to start getting, it would be really nice to get 3 full Vikavolts on the field. That way when Plea GX does happen, I can kind of recover a little easier. And I think some of the ends that I've played so far have helped with that, because, I mean, honestly, I would be Plea GXing right now if I was him. If he could, if he had the DCE, I mean, erasing Vikavolt and grubbing sure would set me back. So I think the ends have really helped. I really wish I could play red card. That would be really cool. So here we're going to use Strong Charge to go ahead and start attacking with Trevenant again now. Now, keep in mind when you use Strong Charge, if there's no grass energies in the deck, like there was in that situation, you can't accelerate 2 lightnings. Just in case you've never really messed around with Vikavolt, you have to accelerate 1 grass and 1 lightning. If you don't have a grass, you can only accelerate 1 lightning. If you don't have a lightning, you can only accelerate 1 grass. And Trevenant is in here too, because there's a lot of stuff floating around that's weak to grass right now. Like Lapras, Lycanroc, and then I'm not really super sure how powerful or popular Groudon is, but I've seen it out there a little bit. But definitely for Lapras, a little bit for Lycanroc, and maybe for Groudon or even Greninja, although I haven't played that matchup, so I can't really speak to how effective it is. And I will say this: I played a couple of matches where, I played a couple of matches where Vulpix wasn't in this list, and it just wasn't as consistent as when Vulpix is in the list. I like the deck a lot more with Vulpix in it for sure. Now remember last turn how we didn't have any grass energies in the deck? We can now because we have Super Rod. So we can definitely send some grass energies back in so we can take full advantage of Vikavolt's ability. We're going to put Shaymin back in just so we can have some draw power late game if we get N down to whatever, 2 or 4. I'm just going to put another Shaymin in case that Silent Lab ever goes away and I get N down. So now because of Vikavolt and Strong Charge, we can get the knockout on Shaymin. So that was pretty cool. One of the things that on Sylveon, one of the things that Sylveon struggles with is energy acceleration. So that's why I think this deck could be good. If you can set up with Alolan Vulpix and Brigette, you can protect yourself against Garbodor's attack. And if you can accelerate energy, you can protect yourself against Sylveon. And you hit for weakness against Lapras, Greninja, Groudon, and Lycanroc, like I said, even though it's not super popular. So that's pretty important in my opinion at this point in the meta, being able to position yourself with whatever you play to have at least somewhat of a winnable matchup versus Sylveon and Garbodor. Like, that's the first thing you have to think. Then after that, you have to kind of think, can I beat the things that are built to counter Sylveon and Garbodor? And then from there, who knows what you'll play. So I think the format is definitely still wide open. Who knows what's going to be the best deck? I think people need to just make sure they're focusing on being creative with the list that they build and be really adaptive to the meta. I think that's going to be the key to being successful at this point with Guardians Rising in the format. So we'll go ahead and just Wood Blast or whatever it's called for 60 damage, or excuse me, 90 damage. And you got to expect that the Flare Grunt's going to happen. Oh, and I wanted to mention earlier, he did the delinquent play where he discarded his Silent Lab, and then I had like 5 cards in hand, and I discarded 2 Sycamore and kept the Shaymin in hand, that was a really bad play because obviously after that he just put down another Silent Lab. And I was thinking, well, I'll keep the Shaymin in case he doesn't put down the Silent Lab again, and then I can try to Shaymin to VS Seeker and VS Seeker for N to discard the Magical Ribbon. And honestly, that's just overthinking it. That's not a good idea. I really should have just discarded the Shaymin, one Sycamore, and then whatever other card was in my hand and kept at least one Sycamore. I got really lucky and drew the Super Rod, which had I not played the, had I not discarded the two Sycamore in that situation and kept one, we would have drawn into it anyway when we played the Sycamore. But yeah, it wasn't a good idea at all. So just wanted to go ahead and say that I recognize that that should have been played differently. So here we're going to get a knockout on the Sylveon, and we're also going to go ahead and accelerate some energy as well. We don't have any energy, so no, we're not. But yeah, we'll get the knockout on the Sylveon at least. And with a choice band, I'm going to attach one here. We guarantee the knockout on the Sylveon GX on the bench next turn. Now, if he were to field blower away the, if he were to field blower and use something to discard the energy, then we can still accelerate with a benched Vikavolt to recover the energy, and I've got the choice band in my hand. So he would have to play N, Enhanced Hammer the energy, and Plea GX away the benched Vikavolt in order to be able to be as effective as possible next turn. So I feel like I'm in a really good spot with this move. And again, you're probably thinking like, oh, why hasn't the Sylveon player been doing this, that, X, Y, Z? I mean, keep in mind, like I said, I've been N'ing the whole time, so that's obviously disrupted the plans a little bit. And he was able, I didn't end last turn, so he is able to get the playoff he probably has been wanting to do for a while. Now here, I just don't understand why that Vikavolt was, why that Vikavolt? That don't make a whole lot of sense. Well, I guess, I mean, even if he had pulled up Charjabug, so if he had pulled up Charjabug and put this Vikavolt in my hand, yeah, I mean, I don't understand that move. I wouldn't have been able to do what I'm about to do. Maybe he just thought the retreat cost was so high, but I've got like a million card hands, so yeah, all we have to do is attach the Float Stone, which got put back into my hand, and the Choice Band, which got put back into my hand, to the active Vikavolt and the bench Vikavolt GX, attach the double colorless, and then play N. And from there, we can just strong charge to the benched Vikavolt GX and get the knockout for the win. So that was the only questionable play. I feel like that should not have gone down that way. Charjabug should have come up, and then he should have used the attack against Charjabug. Granted, at that point, I still would have I still would have attached a Lightning Energy to Vikavolt. I would have put a Grubbin down. I would have been able to use Vikavolt's first attack for, what, 50, what does that attack do? I don't even know. 50, yeah, so it would have done 80 damage and accelerated energy to me. So I still would have been in a winnable position. It just would have delayed this outcome for him longer. And, you know, hey, maybe he would have won the game, I don't know, but it would have been a better move than what just happened. But I say all that to say, just because he didn't do that doesn't mean like, oh, the game would have turned out completely different. I still think I could have had this one or should have had this one, no matter what happened there. So, hey, let's take a look at the list now. It's a pretty cool, fun list, and I think it's very consistent. So we've got a 4-2-2-3 Vikavolt line. I don't need to explain the Grubbin and the Charjabug, why the numbers are where they are, but 2 Vikavolt to accelerate energy, 3 Vikavolt GX, because I want to be able to get 1 Vikavolt down and then quickly and easily run into a Vikavolt GX. I do not want to have to expend a bunch more resources to find another Vikavolt GX. I want one to just be in my hand. I don't want to have to, like I'm trying to say, I don't want to have to expend the resources it takes to get a Vikavolt GX out when there's only 2. I'd rather increase my odds of having one in my hand by playing 3. I have 1 Trevenant EX, like I mentioned earlier. That card's in there really for the Grass Week Pokemon. Plus, it's just nice to accelerate energy to it, especially the grass types, because of the bonus that you get. 1 Tapu Lele and then 4 Alolan Vulpix. Like I said, Alolan Vulpix is the ideal lead for the deck. We've got a switch and 2 Float Stones to get it out of the active. and you can always just attach to it and then retreat and accelerate energies to your new attacker if you want to do it that way, or you can accelerate an energy to the Vulpix and then one to the bench and then attach to something else whenever you get your new Pokemon active. So that's not too big of a deal. I really like Alolan Vulpix in this deck, at least to try it out, you know. Taking a look at the trainers, supporters, let's start with the supporters. We've got 4 Sycamore, 2 N, so it was really nice in this matchup to run into the N early. Like I said, against Sylveon, you want to be able to get your Ns early and play them the whole rest of the game, so use whatever you need to get that. Tapu Lele, Ultra Ball for Tapu Lele to get your Ns, and then live off your VS Seeker for N for as long as possible. We've got 1 Brigette, so we can just grab a bunch of grubbin, which, like I said earlier, sounds super fun to say. We've got 2 Lysandre, 1 Brock's Grit, so we can recover a lot of energies once they're all in the discard pile. That's really all you need to do. It's just Super Rod and Brock's Grit to recover the energy. Some people play Energy Recycler, I think it's called. I think that's a good card too, but it's a trainer, so I opted for Brock's Grit simply for the Garbodor matchup. 4 VS Seeker, 4 Ultra Ball, 2 Floatstone, 1 Switch, 3 Choice Band, 4 Rare Candy. You probably noticed the absence of Trainer Mail. Again, with Alolan Vulpix, I'm not trying to play Trainer Mail to try to get my Rare Candies and my Ultra Balls. I'm using Alolan Vulpix to get Tapu Lele for Skyla for Rare Candy, or discarding a Skyla early. Another cool play is if you have like a Sycamore in hand, you can Tapu Lele for Skyla, and then just go ahead and Sycamore the Skyla away. That way you can access it with VS Seeker later in the game. So I'm not a huge fan of Trainer Mail at the moment, at least in this deck. So yeah, like I said, there's a lot of different ways that I like to search for my Pokemon other than Trainer Mail for Ultra Ball. Then we got 4 Double Color Synergies, 4 Grass, and 4 Lightning. Double Colors obviously is really good because every single Pokemon in this deck, aside from Charjabug, well no, even Charjabug can attack with it. So yeah, it's a really good card to have in this deck at a max of 4 Grass, 4 Lightning, and that's pretty much all we need just to stay consistent and to accelerate the energy. So I hope you guys really liked the deck. I hope you liked the list, and thank you for watching. Try the deck out, see how it works, and stay tuned because we're going to have some more pretty cool decks coming up here soon. So again, thank you for watching, and remember, when you're playing Pokemon, to always have fun.